I'm Chase Heavener, and this is the Alliance Wake 2023 Gear Guide, and we are reviewing the Armstrong WKT109. On this setup, we have the 795 Performance mast, we have the MA 1225 front wing, and then we have the Surf 205 tail. So with this setup, Armstrong has done a really good job of sort of addressing higher performance wake centric riding. And why I say that is with this board in particular, it's extremely thin and it's extremely stiff. So it's full carbon board, but with the thinness, you are like touching the mast basically with your foot. And from a riding perspective, I want to be as close to the mast as possible. I want that responsiveness. I want that, like, I want to lift my pinky toe and have the board move kind of thing. Whereas like for a more beginner setup, you don't want that. You want it to be nice and sort of diffusing some of those moves. But I like to ride more aggressively. So for me, a board like this small, this is a 3.7. And that's a pretty aggressive board, but when you start to advance in foiling, you don't want a lot of swing weight. You want the board to do exactly what you want it to do. So the less board you have, the thinner board you have, the more responsive and the more control you have over your foil and wing. So for me, like, this is a board I would ride. I want to go smaller and thinner all the time, and Armstrong's really done a good job of addressing that style of riding, especially for wake. Because you don't need a lot of volume, you're not out in the ocean, the boat's pulling you up. Or you can do these really cool design boards for foiling that are a little more aggressive than you could really kind of pull off in the ocean. But you could ride this in the ocean and tow. It's built for towing as well, but you really couldn't paddle in on it or do anything like that. This new mast that they have is a very cool mast. They've really increased the rigidity of the mast. And so what that means is, again, hyper responsiveness. You are moving your legs and the foil and the mast are doing exactly what you want it to do. Whereas if you have a little more flex, like, it's fine, but for me, I want responsiveness. I want this to actually move how I want it to move. So I love that, like, direct, rigid connection to the front and the tail, to the wing underneath me. And this mast is really great for that. So the front wing on this setup is a 1225, and for me that was a little big. I like smaller wings. I like to be really aggressive when I'm riding. So it was a little big for me, but it was still a great wing. It pumped great. It did everything I wanted it to do. I always tell people, like, buy a board you can grow into, and this is one of those boards that you can really grow into, and with the size of the wing up front, you can sort of get up a little easier because it's a bigger wing, and then as you advance this sort of system here, you can sort of stay in these, like, this mast and board, and then just start replacing the tail and the front wing here. So the first category we're going to talk about with this setup is pumping, and this mast and this front wing is a great pumping wing. It really actually kind of over-exceeded what I thought it was going to be. It was really easy to keep on foil, and I could kind of just get out wherever I wanted to. So it was a great pumping wing, and I think sort of that mid-aspect design that they're going with, for me, it was a little bit of a surprise because I was expecting it to be more surfy, but when I got out into the water, you know, it did everything I wanted to do. It stayed up, it was easy to pump, get back as far as I wanted to. So I would give this like an 8 out of 10 on the pump scale. So the next category we're going to talk about is glide, and what glide means is basically lift. And what lift is how easy is it for you to keep yourself in the air and on foil. This is a bigger wing, so it's going to glide well. It's going to have a lot of lift. Again, for me, I don't ride wings this big. I ride smaller wings, like I'd probably ride the 1000 or even their 800 MA. But it had plenty of lift, and it was really, really glidey out there. I would give this an 8 out of 10 on glide, and it was nice, and it stayed in the air like I like it to be. So the next category we're going to talk about is speed, and what speed means is exactly that. Is this a fast wing? Is this a fast board? The board up top is definitely built for speed. This front wing is a little big, and so it's not necessarily the fastest wing, but you can solve that problem by going smaller. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is the fastest setup, but Again, I wasn't expecting it to be fast. It's a bigger wing. It's kind of built for being more floaty and pumping and doing this thing. So I'd give this like a 7 out of 10 on speed. So carving is the next scale we're going to talk about. Again, this MA shape is sort of built to be a hybrid between HA wings and surf wings. So it definitely carved well. It sort of did what I wanted to do. The wing's a little big for me, but other than it being a bigger wing, it carved nice and it got into the wave and did everything I wanted to do. So I give this like a 8 out of 10 on the carve scale. So the question is, who is this built for? And I would say this is definitely intermediate to advanced and can very easily become an advanced board. So if you are a beginner and you have a setup and you're sort of growing out of it and you want that next level of board that is gonna like take you into the next year and do all the tricks you want to do, this is definitely a great board to grow into. Again, this is a very advanced, thin, small board, so it's super responsive. A little harder to get up on, but it's an okay sacrifice because when you're on foil, it's really great. And this mast is their sort of top of the line, super rigid mast. So you're not going to have any problems, doing any of the sort of moves you want to do out in the water. So definitely this is like more to that intermediate advanced and definitely can move easily into that advanced category. So that's the review for the Armstrong WKT109 setup. Thanks for watching Alliance Wake Gear Guide 2023 and hit the link up top for more information on Armstrong. See you in the next video.